And welcome viewers, friends and foes to the Daily Space Weather. Coming at you a little bit late today, there was a little bit of hardware anomalies occurring. We've upgraded, so now we're coming at you with some fresh new gear here. Starting things out looking at some coronagraphs at L5 and L1 on this little graphic that we've embellished with stereo A and the SOHO. Stereo A on your left, SOHO LASCO C2 on your right. There's a coronal mass ejection warning in place. Yeah, we had to go to physical stores to make sure this video got to you today. Again, there are those coronagraphs. And we can expect to see a CME in the earthly vicinity soon. So, for you new viewers out there, we only forecast CMEs for this side of the sun. So from Stereo A's perspective, we only want to forecast them over here, not over here. That's on the opposite side of the sun from Stereo A's perspective. Again, there's where those are located, L5 and L1, respectively, Stereo A coronagraph and LASCO SOHO C2. And we've got a coronagraph, we've got a magnetogram here as well. Just let me bring that up. This video was originally streamed live at Twitch. We're going to be talking fast and blasting through all the data here to get the video out onto YouTube. Anyway, there's the colorized magnetogram. We've got a couple named groups. We'll get to those momentarily. And of course, we've got splentacular solar imagery for you here. This is 304 plus 171 angstroms. We've got the southern hemisphere. We've got some regions rising here. So this is the southeastern limb. New sunspot has risen there. It's alpha class. It's pretty big, but only alpha class, so not complex in terms of its magnetic fields. Here's a new region rising. No indication whether that's a sunspot or not yet. It's too early to tell. It's looking like it's got some activity, though. The radio flux has come down to 94. Here's the one-year chart of the radio flux. It's that black line. The red line beneath it is the sunspot number right there. Red line, black line, 94 for the radio flux. Here's a space weather enthusiast dashboard. Some more geomagnetic unrest forecasted for later today and early tomorrow on the 6th. Saturday, November 6th. So additional geomagnetic unrest, we've got an electron storm and so on. We'll get to that momentarily. A bit of an earthquake lull here. We could be seeing some foreshocks. Let's hope not, as there's been a bunch of earthquakes around the west coast of North America, as well as one here near Nepal, near the Indian/Asian plates come together. Deep quake at the Fiji Islands. There was a 4.9 at Japan at depth. That was 343 kilometers estimated depth there. A deep quake in southern Alaska. Another deep quake at Fiji. Some Hawaiian quakes, some minor quakes there, but a bunch of quakes here on the west coast of the North American continent there. The largest being a 4.3 at La Libertad, Mexico. As far as volcanic eruptions, La Palma continues to erupt. 8,000-foot ash plume from La Palma. Karimsky, not provided. Communications errors? Perhaps. Suwanosejima exploded with a 6,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Samisa Pochnoi, 7,000-foot plume of ash from the Aleutian volcano. Popocatépetl, 19,000-foot ash plume over central Mexico. From Popocatépetl, Fuego, exploding 15,000-foot ash plume from Fuego. Nevado del Ruiz exploding 19,000-foot ash plume from Nevado del Ruiz. Sangay volcanic ash not observed. Could be erupting, could be not. Revenador is producing a 15,000-foot ash plume over Ecuador as it explodes. Sabancaya also exploding. 26,000-foot ash plume from Sabancaya. No word on Nevados de Chilean. Please don't pole vault the caldera. Please do visit our links. Please support the channel via the Smash team and the links and the merch, smAsho merch, available at a link at smashomash.com. Here's the Redbubble shop. sorted by most popular. Today's featured product is the Make Earth Not Suck Again hat, which I'm currently wearing. Streaming to you here live with the Mensa hat as we endeavor to make Earth not suck again here on the channel. Bunch of products available there, not just hats, also shirts, dresses, skirts, leggings, mouse pads, comforters, and more at the Redbubble shop. Don't forget to shop early, folks. Everything is limited. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. It's epic, and we'll be always sharing all kinds of interesting stuff that is exclusive to there, such as some aurora pics this morning. I think there were some. By the way, the meteorology segment is going to be integrated into the daily space weather video today, so let's blast through a lot more stuff. We don't want it to be too long. So here's the GOES magnetometer over the past 3 days, and we're seeing some spiky readings here as there's been coronal mass ejections striking the magnetosphere. So that's no surprise. Plasma in the geospace. Here's the heliospheric current sheet polarity imagery. There is a South Pole current sheet on the way. As you can see over here in red, there's the last image. South Pole current sheet coming in a couple of days, a day or two perhaps. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can suddenly change. This data is about an hour and a half old from when we streamed it live. So this is the line of sight field plot, the same data basically. It also includes a solar magnetogram. Here's the coronal hole plot. Sun's B field shown in blue. North coronal hole pointing right toward the Earth here. And it's pretty well defined now, as we sort of forecast that it would be. Again, the corona is very bumpy. It tends to hide features that aren't right in the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. There you can see that well-defined trans-equatorial coronal hole. Actually is largely this whole area here. And we can expect some geoaffectivity from that. There should be a coronal hole wind stream from that in a few days. 3 to 4 days probably for that coronal hole high-speed stream to show up. Here's your flare monitor. There still is a possibility of some significant flares here, although 2891 is degrading. It still is beta delta class. Still is significant possibility for large flares from that. I don't know why this is considered beta gamma. I don't think that is beta gamma. We'll analyze it at the end of the video. Here's your flare monitor. Over the past 3 days, your GOES X-ray flux. Solar flares, don't get them confused with coronal mass ejections. Solar flares are photons. CMEs are protons. Speaking of C, we had some C-class flares. Flaring profile diminishing here with the complexity of the sunspots. Also, the proton flux has now gone back to background level, so the proton event has now subsided. It took a few days as we forecasted, and the initial onset was only an hour after the X-class solar flare. So now that is, again, back to background levels. The GOES proton flux radio blackouts are now gone. We are getting a little bit of charging hazard type stuff. I just wanted to put up the series screen. If you look at the real-time solar wind, you can put up all kinds of stuff that we don't normally show. So, for example, you can put geospace predictions in there if you check certain boxes. We leave this in the basic setup because we don't want to confuse viewers. If you ever see different setups here, we'll mess with it some other time when we're not doing a live stream. But here are the current conditions. Looks like another minor CME strike here, actually, once again. Here's a little bit of CME-like ejecta here showing up, briefly bringing up the solar wind speed to above 600, and then another little minor spike here, and then some shifts in the phi angle and so on. Current conditions are solar wind density, about 7 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed still elevated here at 550 kilometers per second. Again, another coronal hole wind stream is on the way in about 3 or 4 days. Here's the KP index, the measurement of global geomagnetism. Still currently at 3, so we saw some geomagnetic unrest this morning. Let us know if you saw aurora. Drop us a line on one of our social media locations, and we might feature your imagery on the channel. Here's 4 hours of magnetohydrodynamic pressure modeling, the space weather modeling framework. Again, we still do have a high-speed coronal hole type wind speed regime going on here, which accounts for that 550 kilometers per second solar wind, causing some increased pressure there. And there could still be some aurorae showing up. These are the likely spots for the aurorae. The locations of the ground magnetic perturbations. We've dropped the ionosphere deabsorption regions animations and the geoelectric field animations for the moment. We typically only show those during space weather events like the geomagnetic storm. If you want to see what those look like during one, watch our previous videos for the past couple of days. And happy new moon to all you reverse werewolves. We hope you sleep well, don't eat people, and are happy, productive, functional, friendly members of society like most reverse werewolves are. Here's where stuff is located. Ooh, let's do a 1 week forecast. Leave us a comment if you're frightened of planets. There's where things will be on the, what would that be? That's the 22-year anniversary of my getting hit by a truck. More on that at a later time. Putting the more on and more on that later. It's me. Next, a star chart, and we've got a pileup of objects up there. We've got Mercury, Mars, Moon surrounding the Sun on the ecliptic, and then you've got Venus trailing it as well. If you've got a good sunset location, you should have a great view of Venus for the sunset. It'll be very bright just after sunset as it chases the sun down the ecliptic. Today's cosmology segment will be really brief. Really, really brief. Who knows cosmology? The shadow knows. Absorption features create shadows. And this is one of those type of absorption features in the form... it's not October anymore. In the form of a complex molecular cloud in the Milky Way galaxy, obscuring some of these background stars and galaxies. Yeah, giant filaments of plasma. That's the astronomy picture of the day. There's a slightly zoomed out version of it. And we find all kinds of complex molecules in space. Spectroscopy, it's very interesting. When applied to space, who knows what kind of funky chemicals might be in there. This one is known as Barnard B150 if you want to look it up. B150. Quite a series of absorption features indeed. Let's do another slow-mo tour. Here's your slow-mo tour. This is your cosmology segment. Once again, don't forget to visit our playlists on YouTube, youtube.com/smAshomash/playlists. We even put up a gaming video yesterday. If you want to see what goes on in enemy territory, there was a great Brayman battle going on. We're not picking any random numbers, but we're looking at cosmic rays today. You may want to tell your friends and foes about this one. Check out the sudden drop-off in the cosmic rays at Apatity. You might be wondering if that's some sort of an erroneous measurement. Well, the answer is certainly not. You can see right here it gets erased, returning to somewhat more close to background levels, but check it out, that big drop. What do you think happened at Barentsburg? Any guesses? Any guesses? Bueller? The same drop-off. Except a lack of an increase, just a lack of data there at Barentsburg. Going to Athens, we see this sudden drop-off as well. So there's Athens. Sudden dip in cosmic ray flux there, folks, despite not super high activity from the sun. So here, Mexico City. There's the Mexico City Observatory showing a similar double dip. And then a very similar to Oulu type graph, another indication that this data is legit. There's Oulu. We'll also show DOMC and DOMB Antarctica, also exhibiting that same sudden dip in cosmic ray flux. So very interesting data there, and we've carefully selected which cosmic ray monitors to cover and not to cover because frankly, I've noticed nonsense on the internet about cosmic ray flux. So I've decided to start covering it because what do you know? When you cast light on nonsense, it tends to get dispelled, like most evil, especially evil related to cosmology, where creators on YouTube are willing to lie to their viewers, probably for financial gain. Anyway, that's today's cosmology segment. Let's continue on. I prefer to tell the truth for attempted financial gain. Yeah. You want to be a derelict of society, go out and tell the truth, folks. By the way, we didn't really get depersoned this morning. I was just kidding around. Our Wi-Fi router died. We're getting some minor charging hazards here over Southeast Asia, the Western Pacific, and we do have high levels of electron flux. This looks like it needs to be updated, actually, because we are a little bit here into slight warning levels. That's not very high, folks. These levels get much higher than this. As you can see, they make it all the way up here, approaching 1e to the 9th. And here's the forecast. Basically, we were saying we were expecting higher levels of electron flux there. No surprise there, particularly, especially following that geomagnetic storm. This will persist for a couple of days, most likely as well. Here's a diagram of Earth's Van Allen belts to preface the total electron content forecast. And if you're not super familiar with this, if you're under an area that is anything besides blue, you may see some GPS errors as a result of that. If you're under someplace red, you can expect major GPS errors. It's the whole air column between the GPS satellite and your handset. Once again, some anomalous errors over North America. Here's another diagram to show you where the F flare is, because the next slide is the ionogram. Let me just reload those. We're seeing some major low frequency and some huge oscillations here. So some sudden high frequency to low frequency oscillations happening over the east central Pacific there, mainly around the western portion of the South American continent. You can see those really wild swings there. We don't typically cover those because, well, the Earth is at a different portion in its rotation typically when we do the space weather. Here's the anomalygram, and you can see some extreme low-frequency anomalies over most of the Pacific Ocean. Big time low-frequency anomalies there. Check it out. Major low-frequency and huge oscillations going from high to low-frequency anomalies suddenly. Also over the Indian Ocean, low-frequency anomalies. Anyway, here's the latest image. That's 1745 Universal Time. We usually show this at about 10 o'clock Universal Time. There is the latest image on the anomaly map, and you can see those low-frequency anomalies over the Indian Ocean. Normally, I would pause the video here and do our meteorology segment. We're doing this all at once today, so the daily space weather video integrated with meteorology segment. And welcome to it. Let me just check the life of the stream before we go on, and everything looks just fine. So we're starting out looking at the jet streams here of the eastern world. There they are. A little bit doubled up here over both the north and southwestern Pacific. How about the surface winds? There you have those. Let's rotate this and move this thing on. Strong system here south of the Kamchatka Peninsula also. South of the Aleutian Islands, I should say. Here are the surface winds of the Western world. Shout out to all our viewers from the Western, Eastern, Southern, and Northern world. Here are the jet streams of this side of the planet. And it looks like it's going to be some pretty warm temperatures in places like Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. Some cold temperatures striking most of the eastern portion of the U.S. as some Great Lakes air is being sent southward by that jet stream. Here's our weather.gov map. Not a lot of alerts at the moment. Weather.gov, if your county is lit up, figure it out. Those tan areas are special weather statements. I think there's some kind of wind going on. Anyway, I'm not clicking. Here's your precipitation forecast over the next 72 hours. Some snow looks like it's coming to the northern Rockies and Pacific Northwest. Also, powerful low pressure system here moving up the coast of the U.S. In 72 hours, it'll be off the coast of the North Carolina area there. That's the GFS forecast for precipitation over the next 72 hours. Next, lightning mappers. Here's your NASA GOES lightning mapper. A little bit of lightning over Florida, it looks like. Here's a real time. And it's only off the coast. Perhaps some on Cuba. I don't know. I'm not going to stick around long enough to find out. But there's your lightningmaps.org real-time lightning map. Did you see our video yesterday? We put up a non-YouTube video entitled Suck It Facebook, a.k.a. Meta. Allow me to get off the screen. By the way, don't forget to tell your friends and foes about the channel. Press like and subscribe if you're watching any place besides on YouTube. You're missing like 90% of the content. Join the Smash Team if you want all kinds of additional content nobody else gets to see. The Smash Team. It's very high resolution information that you will not otherwise receive. There are multiple membership levels, so check it out at smashomash.com/smashteam. You too can be a member. There is even an annual paid-up subscription. So check it out. Here's a sneak peek as to what gets shown. And yowzers, that's enough of that. Thanks to our new followers over on Twitch. This video was originally streamed live to Twitch. It's such a great live streaming platform. Here we are again, making our standard issue space weather video on it. Actually, it's a special edition in that it includes the meteorology segment. Twitch.tv/smashamash. Here's more meteorology. We're going to advance this pressure map into the Euro forecast for tomorrow. There's the European forecast for pressure tomorrow, Saturday, November 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Clear skies expected over Pennsylvania as I see a high-pressure anticyclonic type system there, usually associated with dry, massive air. Check it out. We've got some cosmic ray-looking things happening here. The water didn't really do that, folks. The water was a little bit more stable than that. It did not get that discombobulated. I can vouch for that. Pretty sweet graphics, though. It's the water vapor map over the Pacific Ocean. And this is what can happen when we see satellite charging hazards. This satellite may have received a little bit of surface charging here, which may have affected its instruments. Pretty likely scenario, I'd say. Pretty soon we'll be asking Tamitha Skov about things like this. Next, our radar.weather.gov map. Anyway, there's the entire United States. We've got some weather over Florida. It's looking pretty dreary. Also some precipitation over the Pacific Northwest. And we get to use the visible satellite for once. We're actually going to zoom in and do some weather pornography here. Since it's a special edition, we'll embellish a little bit. Allow me to get off the screen. Here's your water vapor map. There is the visible satellite. We love using the visible satellite. We're going to show you some funky cloud behavior here in just a minute. First, the recap. There is the recap. U.S. Doppler radar. And let's take a look at, and to make sure we're on a high zoom level, we're going to look at this area right here around Binghamton, New York, because you're going to see some great cloud activity going on here. We've got the humidity and the air pressure and the temperature just in the right mode here to create these kind of funky patterns. There are a bunch of mountains and so on there. And Actually, I'm going to zoom out to a low zoom level because I want to show you the water vapor map for this also. So let's pull up water vapor. Some great activity going on up here for all of you weather nerds, yes. All of you weather enthusiasts, perhaps. So we'll zoom out a little bit. So there's what's going on the visible satellite. You can see it's clouded up here over the past couple hours over most of New York and about half of Pennsylvania. And here's what's going on in the water vapor. So visible satellite versus water vapor, very different scenarios happening, as you can see. And that is as this colder air is mixing in with this dry air mass. This colder air from the north is a lot wetter. And so you're getting some severe atmospheric turbulence going on there in those areas. And it's just getting a little bit colder there. And that's making it cloud up as that cold air mass moves a little bit to the southeast, mainly to the east. So a great example there of clouds forming as the pressure drops. It's not chemtrails. It's not even contrails. So some cloudy conditions showing up there. And that's our meteorology segment. Here come bonus features for our space weather video. And we'll be doing the 36-minute-old data here from El Teide. El Teide, Spain. Here's the ground-based solar observatory imagery from El Teide. Still a filament here, still a coronal mass ejection warning in place. You can expect to see another coronal mass ejection in the earthly vicinity in the coming 24 hours or so. Most certainly, we don't say warning otherwise. And if you want the full alerts and so on, again, become a member of the Smash Team, smashomash.com/Smash Team. Here's the latest refresh of the intensity gram. That is an alpha class sunspot. That's now a beta class sunspot. There's a second umbra there. I'll bet it's of opposite polarity. That's still beta class, so we see the likelihood of flares actually rising here. So that's still beta class. That's now beta class. You can see there's an extra umbra there at a higher latitude, or a more northerly latitude. That is still alpha class. I don't know why that's listed as a beta class. I do not see the second umbra for that, but this I certainly do. So yeah, likelihood of flares goes up with that. And we're going to show you the GOES 16 SUVI real quick, as this is fairly current. Just give it a minute to load there, folks. There you go. This is what we usually stream to Twitch as it refreshes automatically. It's simply spectacular. It's great at showing filaments. It uses a little bit of wider field than the SDO does. And so you get massive prominences showing up on this one, and that's why we stream it, as well as, of course, the auto refresh feature. It's just splentacular. Anyway, here are some more close-ups. We've got the northern hemisphere, a great Earth scale there. We've got the most likely region to produce additional flares with a filament hanging out of it. Sunspot 2891, the most naughty region currently on the closest star. And that's it. That's all she wrote. We are out of here. Thanks again for tuning in. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. We'll talk to you soon. May that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in the daily space weather videos, not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted, naming news.